Well, men and women of Dawson, each and every one of you from the Greater Mackay region, come on in closer. I'm not going to talk at this distance. That includes you, Brunkner, up there. Come on, in you come. Move this way. Come on. You blokes can move. In you come. Well done. First of all, we are so blessed with having Bronwyn Taha, your local, as our candidate here in Dawson. And I believe she's going to be the next federal member for Dawson as well. Because Dawson deserves better than what they've got. And what they've got is not all that flash, let me tell you.
That one right.
Thank you. I think I have got that one right because I've seen it at close quarters in Canberra. Now, friends, we are here and we're part of a political contest. And a political contest which goes to the heart of our values and our beliefs as a Labor Party and as a Labor movement. And that is about whether we believe we can match a strong economy with a fair go for all Australians. Only a Labor government is capable of doing that. We've done it in the past, we'll do it in the future, we're going to do it here in Dawson. Friends, when we talk about the future of our nation, it causes each of us just to take pause and to reflect for a minute on the choices which lie ahead of us. When I look at Australia's future, I'm pretty passionate about it. I'm very passionate about the country that we can become, that we can be better than where we are now and better for our kids in the future, and that's what Labor and progressive politics is all about. We don't just stand back there and say, what we've got now is good enough, let's just try and push it all into a cardboard box and leave it in the corner so no one notices it. We're on about saying, how do we make our community and our state and our country better for those who come after us? That's the essence of Labor's message right across Australia. When I look across the world and I look at the great challenges that now face us, I see difficulties, I see obstacles that we've got to overcome, but I know it is in our spirit as Australians to overcome each and every one of them. Just as you in this community overcome the challenges which are thrown up against those major centres in regional Queensland like Greater Mackay. We are committed as a party and as a movement, as a government, to one core prospect, and that is nation building. We believe in building the nation's future. That is hallmark Labor. When I look around the country, you ask yourself these questions. Who was it who went and commissioned the building of the Snowy Mountains scheme? It was a Labor government under Ben Chifley. When I look around the country and I see the big building projects of the past in the social domain, like Medibank and then Medicare, it was only a Labor government which delivered that for all Australians.
That's right.
When I look at all the major investments in our country's future, the reforms to our economy, the great investments in our future, they have come by and large through the initiatives of Labor governments, both national and state.
That's right.
And that is our mission for the future. Life never stands still. We've got to confront the next set of challenges head on. So when I look at the future, I say to myself, number one, how do we build the future by building the new industries of the future, the new jobs of the future, to make sure that those who come here after us are going to have secure employment and prosperous communities? Because if we simply think that everything's going to stand still, economic history tells us it won't. I've just been talking to local members of the Chamber of Commerce who've told me that they see evidence now of the mining boom coming off. What we must do for the future is preserve the strengths and the wealth that has come out of this mining boom and then invest it into the diversification of our economies into the future. That's called looking beyond the horizon, investing in the future and doing what Labor governments do, building for the future. Some people around Australia think that our manufacturing industry is somehow an industry of the past. I don't. I believe that manufacturing is an industry for the future. Doesn't matter whether in regional centres like Mackay or centres right across the country. We must always be a nation and an economy which builds things. And part of our diversification lies in this. high skills manufacturing into the future, a greater value added through our agricultural businesses into the future, building our new services industries in clean green energy, for example, and I met representatives of that sector here this evening, building our education services industry, our health services industry, to ensure that these are the vital industries of the future which grow the new jobs of the future. Our job as a Labor government is to look beyond the horizon, see what the next challenge is, to anticipate it, to prepare for it, and to make sure our economies, both nationally and regionally, are ready for it. That's our commitment for the nation. That's our commitment here in Dawson. I say again, friends, we are a party and a government of nation building. Building for the future, building the new industries and creating the new jobs of the future. We are also in the business of building the best education system in the world. Our vision for Australia is that we have the best trained, best skilled and best educated workforce anywhere in the world. That's the aspiration we must have as a people. That's the determination we must have as a government. Because if we have that determination about us, let me tell you, we can bring it off. We can make it happen. That's why we've been investing brick by brick, step by step, in making our schools the best they can be. If you're in early childhood education, look at the investments we've made there with now 15 hours a week in early childhood ed, pre-literacy, pre-numeracy for 4 and 5-year-olds before they get to school. Look at what we're doing in our primary schools. In this region alone, I see investments in 53 school libraries. That's a huge investment right across this region. 5 science and language centres in the secondary schools. 6 new trades and training centres across the secondary schools. That's investing in our nation's education system, both nationally. That's investing in Dawson as well. Friends, these are the building blocks, one by one, building our future, building the jobs and industries of the future, building the schools of the future, and building also a health and hospital system which can sustain us all into the future. That's what Labor governments do as well. When I look at our investments now through the new Health and Hospitals Agreement between Canberra and the States, brought to you by a Labor government, when Mr Abbott was Health Minister, the proportion of Commonwealth funding going to the hospitals of the country went down and down and down and down. Under this government, it's going up and up and up and up, and we are going to restore that 50-50 balance which we haven't had for years and years and years, only delivered by an Australian Labor government. And that means real funding here too for Mackay-based hospital. Building the education system for the future, building the health and hospital system for the future. And when I say building the health and hospital system for the future, we are now also, for the first time in this country's history, delivering Australia's first national disability insurance scheme. Another Labor government achievement. A Labor government built and delivered Medicare. A Labor government built and delivers disability care. That's who we are, that's Labor. You might think about this for a moment, but you know when we went and built Medicare the first time, what happened after that? The other mob got in and started to take it apart and tore it down. Then we brought back Medicare when we came in with the Hawke government. I really worry about the number of attempts they made then to destroy Medicare in the subsequent elections. They went to the elections in '86 promising to get rid of Medicare. And then on it went until finally they got to 1996 and they finally held up their hands and said, we can't defeat this great Australian Labor reform. I want to ensure that we have a government which beds down and delivers the future of disability care as well. We've built Medicare, we're going to build disability care. That's what Labor governments do. When I look at the future of this regional economy, It's about building the industries of the future, the jobs of the future, the schools of the future, the health and hospital systems of the future. It's also about investing in the critical infrastructure of the future. Bronwyn's just mentioned the fact we have record investments underway up and down the Bruce Highway now. 4 times as much as the other mob ever invested, delivered by an Australian Labor government, not just in Brisbane but in the regions as well. And I'm proud of that fact, but I'm doubly proud of the fact that we're laying out the infrastructure of the future as well. A national broadband network that services everybody across the nation equally. We as an Australian Labor Party are not going to be in the business of tolerating a digital divide between country and city, between the capital cities and the regional centres, between poor people and rich people, between the flash suburbs and the not so flash suburbs. What we want is a national broadband network which reaches every household, every small business, whether they're in the big cities or in the small, whether they're in the country or whether they're in the capital cities, in George Street and Pitt Street and in Collins Street. Why not here in the main street of Mackay as well? That's what Labor governments do. We're also in the business of building a clean energy future for Australia as well. I'm a strong supporter of our traditional industries and our traditional energy exports, including from this great region. We also are marching in step with the clean energy revolution across the world. And that's why we have introduced the mandatory renewable energy target. That's why we introduced a floating carbon price. That's why we have also ratified the Kyoto Protocol, because we want to be part of a clean energy future as well. Building a clean energy future is part of preparing for the future for Australia as well. So my message to you tonight, friends one and all, is that we are the party and the government of building. We build the house up. The other mob then try and tear the house down. We build the house up, we lay the foundations with the infrastructure, the big concepts, the great visions for the future, laying out this massive project called the National Broadband Network, and they are committed to disconnecting it if they can. When I look at the future of education system, the Better Schools plan they described only until a week or so ago as the biggest con going. I believe what the country wants is not just a positive vision for the future, they want practical building blocks to deliver that vision as well. That's what Labor governments do. But you know, friends, it only works if we win here on the ground in Dawson. And that's where it's over to you folks. We can do a whole lot nationwide. We can carry the arguments right around the country as to what we have done and what our plans for the future to build for the future are. But our campaign challenge is that in every suburb, in every centre, in every street, that we take the argument for Labor up to every local citizen as well. And I am confident, given the power and the passion of our grassroots movement, the representatives of our great trade union movement who are here with us this evening, to get in and join the rank and file, to join with the party branch members, to join with our local supporters, and to make sure that Bronwyn Taha is the next member for Dawson. Next time you're down at a local polling booth or a polling station, you run into some of the other mob, ask them these questions. What did the Liberals do when the Australian Labor government decided to build 53 new libraries in the schools of Dawson? The answer is they voted against it.
That's right.
They voted against it. When you ask them next time, the 34 multi-purpose facilities and halls around the region, what did they do when that came to Parliament?
Nothing.
They voted against it.
Yeah.
If they just did nothing, I wouldn't have minded so much, but they did something. They voted against it. That's the problem. When it comes to the nearly 6,000 computers we put into schools right across this region, I was just talking to someone now from Pioneer State High School. I imagine that your high school and other high schools, we were making it possible for kids who have never seen computers in their classrooms before, and some of them not with computers at home, had computers for the first time. And guess what the Liberals did when that came to the debate in Parliament? They voted against it. They argued against it. Step by step, each one of these things, including Medicare locals, basic facilities, which are out there to service our local communities. We are the party in the government that builds our communities up. Regrettably, They are the party which seems to be dedicated to tearing what we build down. That's the difference. As Paul Keating once famously said, we make the history, they try and unmake the history. That's the division of Labor between what we do as a progressive party in Australian politics and what the other mob do, which is say it's all too hard, let's pull it apart and go back to some mythical point in the past. That's the difference between us and them. We are a party and a movement which has always been looking beyond the horizon, looking around the next turn, working out what we need to do next, rather than just being contented with where we are now. That's why, in building the future, we need to be part of a national team which delivers this vision brick by brick, step by step, stone by stone, building block by building block, as we build the jobs and industries of the future, build the schools of the future, build the hospitals of the future, and build the infrastructure of the future so that we are a nation for the future. I thank you very much. Friends, this is going to be the fight of our lives in every seat around the country. Those we hold and which we may be defending on a thin margin, those which we don't hold like Dawson, which they only hold by a thin margin. Each and every one of you is a Labor hero in the making. You're going to be there and you'll decide whether we win that polling booth or that one over there. By what you do on the day, by what you do between now and voting day. Because I tell you this, I want to see Bronwyn Taha in Canberra as the next Australian Labor Party member for Dawson. Give her your encouragement, give her strength, give her every ounce of energy you've got. 3 cheers for Bronwyn Taha. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Thank you and good night.